Hello everyone, and welcome to another mini sky tonight. So one of the fun things I usually do around about this time of year is explain light pollution and things like that. I did a video on it a while back, so if you like to check out that video on how you can reduce your light pollution footprint and everything, I'll leave it down in the comments so that way you can check it out and how you can improve your sky quality. So one question I sometimes get at the planetarium is where's the best place to go and observe? Because sometimes your backyard is in the inner city and you don't get a good view of the nighttime sky, and you're trying to look for the best places to get the darkest sky as possible. So given the holiday season, I thought, why not do an episode of holiday light versus dark? So where can you find some of these dark places? What defines them? How we get them to be designated as International Dark Sky Association dark sites, and so on. So as you can see from this image, when you're close to the city lights, a lot of light goes up into space and it obscures our view of the nighttime sky. So as you can see from this nighttime view of the Earth, a lot of cities send a lot of light glow. So fortunately, as you can see from the map, there's plenty of spaces still to where you can go into the dark skies. But it's kind of tricky because many of those spaces that are void of light is usually in areas that are not good for humans. Basically not habitable or basically inaccessible and so on. Like, for example, if you look straight through the middle of the upper part of Africa, that's mostly the Sahara Desert. So yeah, you're going to get a nice view, but you're dealing with the Sahara Desert. So where are places that you can go that still give you good quality dark skies, but not have to worry about going into some extreme places? Well, allow me to introduce to you the International Dark Sky Association. It's their mission when they started in 1988 to preserve and to protect the nighttime environment and our heritage of the dark skies and through quality of outdoor lighting. In fact, many of the resources I got for my light pollution video came from the International Dark Sky Association. They try to keep up to date of what new technology is available to help reduce light pollution up into the nighttime sky and to preserve the night sky for future generations, as well as to help our wildlife, because many animals that are nocturnal depend upon nighttime, and city glow kind of affects that, as well as for our health as well. So if you want to check out more research material as well as resources from them, I have their link in this presentation, and I'll leave a link in the description below as well, so that way you could check out, hey, what can I do to reduce some of my light bleeding out into my yard and or reduce the light going up into the sky. But before we get into how they designate these special places that are considered good quality observing sites, let's talk about magnitude. So what is magnitude? Magnitude is the relative brightness of an object as seen from Earth. So astronomers back in the day designated one particular star called Vega because it was a steady, stable star that they were able to get the relative brightness of it consistently, and they designate that as magnitude 0. Anything that has a negative means it's brighter than that star, and anything that has a positive number means it's fainter than that star. Now, keep in mind, this is relative brightness, not absolute brightness, because, for example, Vega, if you were to put it at the same distance of Earth, it would be very, very, very bright, much brighter than the sun. But since it's so far away, it has a relatively fainter view compared to the sun, which, as you can see as an example, is a negative 26 magnitude. So it's incredibly bright because the stars are relatively close to us. So this just takes into account where they're positioned in the night sky and how they look to us from Earth right now. This is their magnitude, what they look like. So for example, Venus, which is sometimes known as the early morning or early evening star, and it's incredibly bright, it has a negative 4.2 magnitude. And usually the naked eye limit, like the darkest thing that you can, or the faintest thing that you can see on a clear, dark, moonless night, is roughly about 6.5. So that's assuming you don't have any binoculars or a telescope, that this is the faintest thing you can see. So where do we go from here? Well, we have to get what is known as sky quality, because as I mentioned, you have to have a clear, dark, moonless night. Sky quality, or sometimes as often referred to as the Bortle dark sky scale, classifies skies based upon not only conditions of the moon, conditions of the sky quality like air quality, but also conditions of light glow from cities. A class 1 area is considered the best, whereas in the class 9 area is considered the worst. So what do these numbers mean? In a class 1 area, 7.6 through 8 is the relative magnitudes of some of the faintest stars that you can start to barely see. Like this is like the fine limits of what you can barely see, as well as what you can see throughout the entire sky. So you can start to faintly see them, but not quite. But in a class 1 area, since it's so dark, you can start to see these 7.6 or 8.0 magnitude stars, which is really, really cool. So what is the second set of numbers? Well, another set of numbers that the sky quality meter uses is basically magnitude per square arc second. So if you were to take a star at a certain magnitude and spread its brightness throughout the entire sky in a square arc second, basically imagine kind of like a square meter in the sky, basically, how bright would it look? So in the case of the 21 to 22, so imagine a magnitude 22 star. So really, 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 really faint. And we spread its brightness over across the sky. So that tells you how dark it is. Now compare that with a inner city where it's a 17, it's still faint, but it's spread across the entire sky. It's really, really bright and it's really hard to see. So once you go start down the classes, where class 1 is considered like the top tier, class 3 is your rural skies, like you're out of the country and you only have just a few lights and maybe a little bit of a city glow off into the distance. So it's still good quality skies, but not the best. And then you have class 5, which is your suburban skies, kind of like the outskirts of San Antonio, so to say, like in the Helotes area, Hondo, etc. And then you have the urban skies, which is basically inside 1604. And then, of course, you have the inner cities, which is basically close to downtown. And the sky quality there is much, much less, even on a clear moonless night. So what does that look like? So these are all numbers. It's kind of hard to picture what these numbers represent. Well, this is kind of like a beautiful picture that I was able to find of what it represents. Class 9 being inner city, you're only able to see some of the brightest stars, like maybe like 10 or 15 at most. So it's really, really, really hard to see some of the sky. Whereas then you start to get into 7 and 5, you start to see a few more stars. Is when you start getting into class 1, you start to see the Milky Way, you start to see the beautiful colors of the Milky Way, you get to see some of the faintest stars, including several that may have you never seen before, as well as features of a particular constellation that you couldn't be able to see. So a class 1 area is a really cool site to go. So where can you find these sites? Well, this is what their eligibility is. There are different sites given their eligibility, and sometimes it's kind of difficult to consider the eligibility. So let's look at their list from the International Dark Sky Association of what they consider good quality sites. The first tier is what is known as communities. Basically, it's a town or city or municipality that is recognized by an outside group that is having dark skies. So this particular city or town has made tremendous efforts to preserve its nighttime sky and to either use special types of lighting and or reduce the amount of street lights and signs so that way it can still have that nighttime sky appear. And or it's been known to promote good sky quality. So if you're a township or if you're a neighborhood that wants to give this a try, by all means. Parks, many of your national parks like Big Bend and several other national parks have these big, huge areas that basically are void of lights, and they're public or private and accessible to the public in some parts. And they have good sky quality, roughly 21.2 magnitudes per square arc. So that's like level 2, almost into level 1 kind of territory. Reserves are similar. They're basically areas of 700 square kilometers of land that is not a part of a national park or anything. It's basically a natural area, and it allows you for good sky quality as well. And usually the difference between the reserves and the parks, from what I could tell from the International Dark Sky Association tiers, it was just based upon the sky quality. That was it. Next one is sanctuaries. Now, I couldn't find any sanctuaries that are in the United States. Most sanctuaries are basically national park, what we call national parks, but they usually are outside the United States. And then you have urban night sky places, which is basically like open space areas that can be 50 kilometers away of a population and still have good dark skies. So imagine like some ranch out beyond San Antonio sort of thing. And then you have developments of distinction, subdivisions or neighborhoods, and townships that promote natural night skies. So if your subdivision basically wants to do like star parties sometimes, and they just want to turn off the lights, that could possibly get you for a development of distinction. If you want to check out like if it's possible to promote your area, I would recommend to go to the International Dark Sky Association websites to see what their qualifications are and potentially apply. So with that in mind, what are the dark sky places that you can go to now? So I've created a list. So there's 2 slides. So if you want to pause the video and write these down, I'll give you a few minutes, but this will allow you to be able to go to these individual places and check out some of the dark sky areas. So these first few places are developments. So they'll have like about a tier 5 to tier 3 kind of sky, but they're still pretty good. And then of course you have your parks, which are going to have close to tier 3 to tier 1s. Now, as you can see, I put the cost of them because some of these places do cost in order to get into, but fortunately, many of the national parks are pretty cheap. They're like $5 per person or $3 per person, and like kids 12 and under are free. So if I recall correctly, many military members get into the national parks for free for as long as they are alive. So that's something to look to. So if you want to get away from people and try to social distance as far away as possible as you can, and want to get some good quality skies to check out like some deep sky objects or anything of that nature that I've been promoting in my Sky to Night videos, these are some of the good places to go to. In fact, in Big Bend National Park is a really good place to go. And of course, here's some more. Got a couple more parks. But I do want to point out one in particular, the Ubaru Camp and Retreat Center. As I mentioned, it's an event cost. It's open to the public in part, not in whole like some of your national parks. This is only open to the public in part because it's owned by an organization, a utilitarian group, and you can become a member and still use these facilities, but sometimes they open up events to the public for nighttime sky viewing and things like that. So if you're interested, you can check out their website of when their next event is available, and you could possibly go to one of these retreat events. And then you have a sanctuary, which is the Devil's Ridge natural area, which is really cool. And then you have a bunch of these communities. So if you want to just go driving through their community just to check out the nighttime sky, by all means, go check it out. So these are some of the dark sky locations. I know some of people are like, okay, where can I go just to take out my telescope and actually look at really cool stuff without having to do a cyclical? Here is your list. So I'll go back to the previous slide. I'll give you a couple minutes. In fact, if you want to pause the video and write down the list, you are more than welcome to, because I know some of these places are really cool. I would highly recommend checking out their website first because I know with COVID, a lot of things have changed in terms of, for example, like the park's open times and like what areas are open. So I recommend going online and checking out their websites to find out like what areas are available, what times and dates are available, etc., before you start heading over there without too much of an understanding what's going on. I know a lot of things have changed, so plan accordingly. All right, let's head to this other slide. And of course, like with any of these like communities, for example, just be mindful of your surroundings. Don't disturb anybody else. Don't look like a creeper, so to say, as I sometimes like to put it. Don't be in a suspicious place where it makes you look suspicious. So try to find an area that you can pull over to the side and pull out a telescope and take a look, that it is not illegal and or doesn't bring suspicious upon you. And of course, we're talking about the holidays. I know for me, the holidays have hit hard, and we all need a little bit of holiday cheer, especially now when, as to quote one of my friends, he said, if you haven't been kicked in the shins by 2020, there's something wrong. We've all been hit hard, and we could definitely use a little bit of holiday magic and cheer. So one thing I wanted to share with you guys is some of the places to where you can go to share that holiday awe and wonder, to look at some beautiful night lights with your family, and to do it safely. So here in the San Antonio area, I created a list of some of the places that you can go to take a look at where you can see some of the best lights around the area. And you're welcome to pause the video and either take a snapshot or write down a list of some of these places. And you're welcome to check out their times and availabilities as well online. So you have the San Antonio Zoo, which they have their Starry Night Zoo, which is a really great place to check out some of the lights as well as some of the amazing animals. But you have to pay for admission. And if I recall correctly, it's roughly about $30 per adult, give or take. I know they're holding a couple of holiday specials, so you're welcome to check out their website to see if you could possibly get a season pass for much cheaper. Then, of course, you have the Riverwalk, the Alamo, and Travis Park. To see the lights themselves are free, but since it's downtown San Antonio, you may have to find parking or find some type of transportation to get down to San Antonio. So that might be your little bit of cost. So hence why I put down parking as potential cost. So these lights themselves, just to go into them, especially, for example, the Alamo, it's free, but there's the cost of finding a place to park. Then you also have Six Flags, which they have boasted several thousands of lights, but they do charge per person because it is a park. University of Incarnate Word often has their festivities of lights, and it's free. You can drive through the University of Incarnate Word's campus and see the beautiful trees all lit up and everything. And or if you want to take a nice holiday shot, I've been told that you can find a quiet place to park on the campus that's not designated for like a professor or a handicap or anything of that nature, and walk around a couple of the trees, take a couple of nice holiday pictures, and head back into your car safely. Or if you just want to stay in your car to keep safe, you could just drive through the campus. And of course, SeaWorld, which they have their beautiful lights, and they also have the Christmas animal shows and everything. It's a fun place to go visit, but again, like any amusement park, they do charge admission, so check their website for their costs. An event known as Lights Alive, which is basically off Roth Road. It's actually a really cool site, and you basically can drive through this huge several acre lot and see all these beautiful inflatables and all these lights, and some of them are recorded to music and everything. I put drive and walk because there's areas where it's mostly you could drive through, but they also have areas like the concession stands and everything if you want to go walk in or take a look around at things. The great thing about some of these places like Elf Acre, as well as like Elf Acres and Illuminite, they don't charge per person, they charge per car. So if you want to hop into a van with 6 people from your family and just go driving through and checking out all the lights, it's only like $20 to $30 per car. So that's a pretty decent thing, and you get to see all these beautiful lights and everything. The Monte Vista Avenue, it's actually a really cool, or the Monte Vista neighborhood, it's a really cool neighborhood. It's basically some of the historic buildings in San Antonio. It's just a little bit north of the Scobie Education Center. And you can go down these streets and drive for them for free, and you get to see basically all these beautiful Victorian style homes decorated very elegantly, and it's free. I put a question mark by it because technically it's a neighborhood, and from what I could tell from their neighborhood rules is that you have to have lights down by December 3rd, December 4th, but I put a question mark by it. It's like, because they're individually owned places, they may take them down sooner? Don't know. So just if you want to check them out before the holidays, please drive through that neighborhood and you get to see for free through your car all these beautiful lights. And of course, if you want to go to Natural Bridge Caverns, they sometimes have caroling in the caverns, and they have hot cocoa for sale, as well as you get to see some of the beautiful Christmas lights in the cavern, which is actually, I've been told, a really cool sight to see. But since it's a national area, they do charge per person to go come and see it. This next list is an area that's not kind of close into San Antonio, but a little further out of the town. So if you want to make a little bit of a drive, you can check these places out as well. Windcrest and Windcrest, Texas is, I've been told, like the Griswolds on steroids. Like, these people take Christmas to the extreme. They in this particular neighborhood, they have a contest of who has the best decorated house, and they go all out. So if you want to see like the most extravagant Christmas lights for free, you're welcome to drive through their neighborhood and everything. And I'm told that they end their light shows and everything on December 31st for their competitions. There's Santa's Ranch, which they, like the Illuminite and everything previous in the San Antonio area, they charge per car, as well as Dawn Strange Ranch. So if you wanted to go check out some of these beautiful lights and everything, and it's a drive and walk area to where mostly you can drive through it, but then you can also walk around and go to some of the concession stands and everything. If you want to go downtown to like some of these small towns, I've been told that the city of Boerne decorates very well on their main street. It's free, so you can either drive down the main street, and or I've been told some people mention that it's much more enjoyable to walk down the streets to enjoy the lights, because then you don't have to worry about holding up traffic. You could just walk down the streets. And of course, Trail of Lights, they charge per car. And you get to see all these fun things. Like, one of them I was told by a colleague of mine was the Old West Christmas Fest, where you get to see Christmas Old Western style. So if you want to check out a little bit of historical Christmas lighting, I recommend checking that out. So here are some of the fun places that you can see some of the darkest parts of the holiday season and some of the brightest parts of the holiday season. So whether you're into holiday light or holiday dark, it's up to you. If there's a particular place that I missed, please leave it down in the comments below so that other people may know about it as well. And as well as I may like to know, because I know I'm planning to come visit some of these different places with my family to kind of get a bit of holiday cheer. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for topics for future presentations that I could do for you guys, leave it down in the comments as well. Also, parents, if you're looking for some fun activities for your kids, futurereadysa.org has a wonderful site that allows your kids to do fun scientific activities and get digital badges. So I recommend checking their website out. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Also, if you're looking for some fun holiday gifts for family and everything, especially for a space enthusiast, I recommend Earth to Sky Calculus, because I know many people have come to me and asked, hey, can I get a star named after so-and-so? I don't recommend that, because many of the sites that try to sell you a star are not really selling you a star at all. They're just selling you a certificate, and the star isn't designated to you. Whereas an Earth to Sky Calculus is actually an organization that specializes in helping high school kids be able to go to college by helping them do research and earn experience and scholarships to continue on through whatever field of study they were in. And so what they do is they send high altitude weather balloons up into space to do research. And on these weather balloons, they sometimes send up cargo, and they take a picture of that particular cargo in space. So you get to buy something that has physically been in space. Like this necklace I got from my husband, this necklace has officially been in space. And so that to me is really cool. So I'll leave a link in the description below to let you check out what awesome things they have on sale. So if you're looking for a fun gift. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, never stop learning.